hydrangeas. So I made a frame to weave in, not a loom, an actual frame to weave in a few weeks ago, and I really liked the idea. So I got some more wood, and I'm going to try and make a bigger frame, and I'm going to put multiple rows of holes in these so that the tapestry can have like 2 or 3 layers. I don't know, it might be weird, but come along as I try this out. I'm going to be sharing it on my Instagram, but we're gonna see if this works, and if it does, I will show you how to do it too. You might be a fiber artist, but don't let the woodworking part of this project scare you off. It's super simple, believe me. I started by getting 2 pieces of 36-inch by 2-inch by 1-inch board from Home Depot and cutting them at the 20-inch point with just my simple hand saw. Then I played around to see how I wanted to connect the edges. By overlapping them in different ways, it slightly changed the shape to be skinnier. Then I drew 2 lines on the top and bottom and marked dots 1 centimeter apart. Using a 1/4-inch drill size, I drilled holes on each dot. I then sanded down the pieces. I put wood glue on the corners and placed the frame together using clamps to hold it in place as it dried. I probably could have called it good at this point, but because this frame was a little bigger, I decided to add nails on the edges. My husband actually came out to show me how quickly he could do it with his air compressor, but you can also hammer them in with a regular hammer. Before I started adding on to the frame, I wanted to test some ideas first, so I used some tracing paper. This let me practice layering the 2 designs on top of each other to see how they work together. There are so many ways you can go with this design, but I decided to do a geometric pattern with colors on the background and simple black stars on the front. I also had someone share the idea to use fishing line as the warp, so that the layers would appear to float in the air. I ended up getting clear beading monofilament, which I thought might be more flexible and easier to knot than fishing line, but I'm not sure how they compare yet. I double warped the frame so that 2 strands of warp went into each hole because I wanted to be able to weave details in my shapes. I think the monofilament did a pretty good job of fading away. I was excited to start weaving. I started with a few shapes to see how the 2 layers work together, and it just made me even more excited to continue. I think it's so cool how the weft rows look like squiggly line drawings hanging in the air from afar. Turns out, weaving on 2 layers of invisible warp is kind of difficult. It creates an optical illusion while you're weaving, which made my eyes cross trying to figure out which string was next. But I found a hack that helped. I slipped a piece of black paper in between the layers to make the warp string stand out more, and it made it a lot easier to see while I was weaving. I would weave part of the back layer and then turn the frame around and weave part of the front layer. The monofilament was also helpful because it was slippery, so I could easily move the shapes around to get them centered, but they didn't move unless I needed them to. And here's the finished project. I think this idea is so cool, and I'm excited to explore it more. I love the way the composition changes depending on what angle you are looking at it, so the layers appear to move as you walk by. And I think the designs on my 2 layers were maybe a little too busy to work well together. So I kind of want to try this again with simpler shapes and maybe try a monochromatic piece by using only 1 color on both layers. If you try this project, please tag me on Instagram and let me see it. Find me on Instagram or on my website, hellohydrangea.com, where I have dozens of weaving classes, kits, and looms. Happy weaving!